Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 139 of High Spirits. I'm Ben Larson,
And I'm AnnaRae Grabstein.
and today is a different kind of episode. No guests, just AnnaRae and me. We've been talking a lot lately about what's actually going on in our businesses, our lives, and our relationship with the industry, and we just thought, let's do it on air.
Yeah, I've been genuinely looking forward to this one. It's felt like there's been some things that have been unsaid. We've been talking to a ton of leaders, but we haven't been making time to talk about ourselves and what's been going on in our own worlds and our own business in a really substantive way. So here we are, and we're going to do it today.
Yeah, I want to say up front, this is not polished. I was doing a lot of reflecting over the weekend, so I'm happy to just jump in, be honest, and see what we uncover.
Yeah. Well, let's start with our regular check-in. It was holiday weekend. What'd you get into this weekend, Ben?
Oh, what did I get into? Um, well, we'll unpack a lot of this, but like I just felt kind of numb coming into the weekend. I feel like I've been carrying so much that I wasn't particularly happy. I wasn't angry or stressed. It was just like just blah. And it was kind of hard to like feel myself, and uh, very appreciative that I got to spend a lot of time with my family and just like hanging out around the house. Had my parents over for dinner, cooked like a nice dinner. Um, and then, yeah, I cleaned out our garage for the second weekend in a row because we're expecting a baby in about a month, and it's getting really real. So reorganizing everything, making sure that everything has a place, because I expect everything to go back into disarray, and it's better to do that from a clean slate than something that's already in disarray.
Yeah. Well, first, I think that's the first time you've said on air anything about the new baby coming. So, congratulations. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited
Thank you.
for you. And it's a big deal to be growing your family. And I also know how important it is to do this nesting exercise that you're in. And so, cleaning out the
Mm.
garage is so important. And I'm so glad to know that you're doing that. I bet it makes your wife feel a lot more comfortable about all of the things that you just can't predict going into this next chapter right now.
Yes, cleaning has suddenly become her love language, which I'm just leaning into it because it's like I'm good at doing things, and like when I when I know what I need to do, it's just like, all right, project, 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 and
Totally.
yeah, lots of time at Home Depot and doing that kind of stuff.
God, and I should have reached out to you on Saturday because it sounds like we were feeling really similar in some ways. I was feeling really blah as well, and I was able to turn it around on Sunday, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But it was this weird situation towards the end of my week last week where I decided that I really wanted to go to Bottle Rock, this music festival that's
Yeah.
happening locally. And I started trying to get tickets sold out through all these different ticket outlets or like Facebook marketplace groups. And I just kept almost getting scammed over and over again by people
Mm.
that were like supposedly selling tickets, but then were trying to get me to send them money before they would send me a real ticket. And then I was able to use my brain to realize that what they were suggesting was just like completely not legit. And it was really freaking disheartening. And I was just like, why are there so many goddamn scammers out there trying to steal my money when all I'm trying to do is go have a good time and see some music. And at the same time, I was fighting with this company, an online company that I was just trying to like process an order with. And there was
Mm.
some problems being processed, and I was being basically tormented by bots. Like I kept sending this company an email, and then I would get this gaslighting bot email back being like, "You're so right, and we understand why you're so frustrated.
Oh my
Um, but
gosh.
we have sent your complaint to our human team for further processing." And it was just like this endless cycle. I couldn't reach a human, and these bots were being so nice to me that I wanted to throw my computer through a wall. And between that and the scammer, I was just like, "Fuck this, fuck the
Light
world.
it all on fire.
What is going on?"
Oh my god. I totally feel that. I actually have one good example of a bot working in my favor. Like I think I was calling Xfinity or something, and there was like a mischarge, and I just you prep the whole case in your head, and you're like, I'm gonna get these And then I typed it all in, and it said, "Okay, your refund has been processed." And I was like, "Oh, oh, that was a lot easier than I expected." Okay. And I feel like if I was actually dealing with a human, they would have read me the riot act, and I would have had to ask for the manager and all this kind of stuff. And I was really glad I didn't have to go through all that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we also have gone through the scammers on Facebook Marketplace, and again, my wife being pregnant, she's been like trying to like make sure that we have all the things and like not go pay out the nose for it all, and she has gotten it's happened so much that she's able to determine like what is an actual mom versus someone that's trying to scam a mom. And part of that process is like, oh well, where do they live, what's the address, does it match like the product that they're selling, and
Yeah.
it's
And
yeah.
when they send you the Venmo, if it's like a funny man's name, but the
Right.
person that you're communicating with is like a woman with like a completely different like
Totally.
fake picture. So it's just these are the skills that we have to have in life now are these like weird tentacles to first of all realize when you're talking to a bot or navigate and identify a scammer and then not get kind of pulled into it. So anyway, I didn't end up going to the music festival. I was just like, screw this. I can't get these tickets. I'm not going to spend $900 for one day. Um, and I just kind of had a shitty Saturday.
Hmm.
But I turned it around because on Sunday we got out on a pontoon boat with friends in the sunshine on Lake Sonoma, which is a local lake to near where I am. And it was just good. It was like the good medicine of spending time with humans and nature and sunshine and delicious beverages and just, yeah, the good shit.
Yeah.
That makes you realize that it's okay to have kind of those low days where you question society and question all the things because you get to offset it with the good stuff in life.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yesterday for the day off, I always go to my personal trainer for weight training on Mondays.
Hmm.
And I reached out to my trainer to find out if anybody had canceled and if it was possible to book an extra session. And I brought my son with me, and
Oh,
we
amazing.
both got to train. Yeah, just
Oh, that's
super
so
fun.
cool. I love
And
that.
I just find that like getting to take him to the gym with me and show him when I'm working really hard and trying to do something that I almost can't do or failing at something, like getting to a weight that's too heavy. I feel really proud in that moment to show him that. And so, yeah, it was good. So it
Yeah.
all ended on the upside.
How did he feel coming out of it? Like that's I'm assuming that's kind of a new environment for the two of you to share.
Well, he's actually come with me before, and he likes
Okay.
it there. And he's too small to use a lot of the machines, and his focus is kind of half-assed, to be honest, when he's trying to do the weight training. Like he doesn't want to keep his posture in a position that's safe, and so it's in some ways it was probably a waste of my money, but not a waste of time. And I think it's good. I didn't grow up with parents that showed me how to exercise. I really
Mm,
had to learn that later in my life, and I think if anything, just trying to, create space where a young person gets to see an adult being able to figure out how to integrate, health into our life is a good example. So,
yeah, Alistair has been asking to come to the gym with me, and I have many responses to this. First, like I'm like, "Bud, I go at 5 in the morning, or there's no way you're gonna get up that early." He's like, "Just wake me up." And I'm like, "Okay." But also, I'm like, "No, this is my personal time, and you're gonna mess it all up." No matter how much I love spending time with you, because the gym time, as you know, has been very important for my mental health and kind of helping me work through these times where I'm not exactly feeling in touch or centered.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's our segue. Um
Okay. Yeah, let's go deep into the darkness.
Well, so, you know, what's going on? Where are we actually? Um,
Hmm.
yeah. What's happening in your world right now? I mean, as a
Oh,
founder,
that's the question. Okay. uh, where are we? Yeah, I think part of my reflections this weekend was that we've collectively as an industry have been going through a lot. And for us in particular at Vertosa, very heavily indexed on the trajectory of the beverage category. And we work with edibles, we work in hemp and regulated cannabis, Canada. But by and large, the last 2 years has been this massive run up of hemp beverages, which is a lot of fun. In cannabis, we get so used to the challenges of navigating the oppressive regulatory environment. But to feel what felt like 2 solid years of just excitement and growth and new operators coming in, new retailers coming in, new distributors coming in, growth, 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 and supporting that and being laser focused on it was frankly a lot of fun. It reminded me of some of my times in tech where you're just like building and trying to grow. And I knew the whole time that maybe this trajectory wasn't going to last forever. Nothing in cannabis is ever linear. Um, but then, like, last November happened, and that reality, like, really sunk in. And so ever since November, it's been recalibrating a bit because while you may anticipate the changes, you can't fully anticipate them operationally because you have to be able to support the business as it grows. And so as all those changes happen, like we had to quickly recalibrate the business to focus on the regulated markets, to support the political side of what's happening in beverages and hemp, and then get the team kind of pointed in the right direction. All on top of that, we're a California-based business. California has felt a certain way about hemp over the years, and so we've actually done a lot of movement regardless of what was happening at the federal level. So all this to say, I think the business has been adjusted. We believe that the beverage category is inevitable. We're continuing to grow into edibles and regulated markets. But yeah, as a CEO, as a founder, the mind shift of, like, I guess creating space to process what it takes to be in those different modes, like that exciting kind of growth mode versus that kind of um, pragmatic survivalist, like, you know, be there for the long term kind of mode, right? And they're very different. And I don't think I have provided the adequate space for me to just think about that philosophically versus just the checklist of what needs to be done. And so I'm in the space now, especially as we're approaching, hopefully what looks like a paternity leave, where the team's in a great space. We're doing all the right things. We've checked a lot of the boxes, and now I'm having time to reflect. It's like, okay, what does the next year or two or three look like, and what are all the different scenarios? Which is a common muscle in cannabis, but one, I guess, that is just feeling very fresh again.
Yeah, I mean, this experience that you're describing about all this momentum and acceleration that was happening through 24 and 25, and then what happened in November, it was almost like slamming on the brakes in some
Hmm.
ways. And then it's that recovery from the whiplash of holy shit, we just slammed on the brakes so hard, and everyone just started talking about survival and how
Hmm.
important survival is. And okay, fine, but what does that really mean? And what I'm hearing that you've gone through is this moment of like, okay, slam on the brakes. Now we need to talk about survival. But now at some point, you want to get out of survival. Like, survival is not a healthy place to be. You got to
Right.
have an actual plan forward of something that's manageable and clear. And you guys clearly have been doing that and refocusing on regulated, but there's like a lot that gets left behind and kind of sadness about what that vision was and kind of how fast it will get there inevitably. I don't know, how does that land?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't even describe it as sadness at this point because, like I said, being in the industry for 10 years, you understand the ups and downs. It's it's a quick gut check about inevitability and whether you're in it for the length of the timeline. And so it's like during that 2 years, I would say in that time period, I'm like, this feels too good to be true. It's happening faster than I expected in that moment, right? And then after November, it's like, well, of course that was going to happen. um, and just really reality checking is like, do I still believe the category is still inevitable? And the answer is yes. Like there's so much momentum that was built. There's so much interest, and we see the consumer. We see the consumer really wants the category, and so the consumer in the end is going to get what they want, come hell or high water. And so it's like, how do we get there? And so, I think it was less about, yeah, maybe a little bit of sadness of like, oh, that's kind of sad that this is this is not happening now. But at least it's going to happen, because I have witnessed plenty of other sadness where you just realize like this is a shit business model, and I'm going to have to really pivot and change directions. And so I wouldn't even call it a pivot. It's just a further diversification in creating the stability to make sure that we're there when the opportunity does arise, and trying to make the opportunity arise, through our own efforts, right?
Well, and I relate to a lot of this myself because in my own practice, as I have built a consulting business over the past few years, a lot of that has been about trying to pay attention all the time of where the industry is going, where there is growth opportunity, because by paying attention to that, I can kind of flow with it and help the areas of the industry grow that are already on that natural trajectory, while also leaving behind the places that I have seen become stale or that were suffering kind of beyond repair. And so a lot of what was happening for me through a lot of 2025 was I was talking to companies that had been on that growth trajectory, Ben, that you described.
Mm,
And we're looking at 2026 as this year that they were going to triple their business again and then even triple it again the next year in 2027. And we're talking with me about how do we go from where we are today as a company and set ourselves up to be able to scale at that level. And then very quickly, it was like, actually, not so much. All of those 2026 plans um, are different. Now we just need to survive. All of the investors that were going to come support us this year, they need to take a deep breath, understand what's going on. And then for me in my world, it was like, okay, well, what does that mean for me?
mm,
It means kind of the same. I need to do that same kind of refocusing and understanding if I was overly focused on growth as opposed to pure just optimization and alignment with what I know to be true about myself, my skills, and where I believe the consumer and the industry is going. So it has been a realignment for myself around kind of core purpose ideals. Like I know that I am most successful, when I am working with companies that I perceive to be good.
mhm,
And
mhm,
what I mean by that is, like, good in intention, good to the humans, good to the planet, good to the plant, good to the opportunity that in terms of the way that they're executing on it, as opposed to just supporting growth for growth's sake. Does that
mm.
mean that I can't do that? No, but it means that, like, I trust my trajectory and kind of the safety of where I sit when I truly believe in the companies that I'm helping support and grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I think what you're identifying is like, being in a phase where discernment and being able to focus on the things that at least that you're good at or make you successful, and not spreading yourself too thin or going too broad. And it's interesting because we've gone through phases like that in our business too. Um, and then largely, that the beverage category taking off really allowed us to focus all of our energy into growing that, right? And really sharpening that part of the business. And it became easier for us to focus. It going into times like this, I mean, I even found it this weekend as I was working through some business planning for 27 and 28. Like, what are the areas we're going to grow in the business if we understand that beverages continue to hit headwinds for the next year or two, right? And I find myself like reaching into that bucket of like, oh, it's like, do we go into other form factors? Do we go into other markets outside of the US? Like, um, and being very hesitant to like kind of like commit to that because of it feeling a stretch beyond, right? And I'm curious for you, like how, like you just want to like kind of like dig into what you were saying about that discernment, like because I know in the early days, like when you're trying to make money, you're saying yes to a lot. You're working with all sorts of different people on all sorts of different projects, and I want to hear a little bit how that's evolved for you, like being able to identify, oh, I actually want to work with those people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I kind of got chills just as you were saying that because, yeah, I did not come to consulting as a consultant. I came to it as an operator, and I was sort of in an in between phase after leaving a company that I had started and wasn't really sure what was next. And I started saying yes to people asking for help. And it was through the process of saying yes that I realized that I really liked being able to help companies, but from sitting on the outside. And so I said yes, yes, yes all the time because that was how I thought that I was going to build this company. And then as I started to say yes more, I thought that the solution to saying yes more was bringing more people into the company. And so I brought in a partner and I brought in other people to help me in kind of strategist and analyst roles so that I could do more and keep saying yes more. Um, but that started to really wear at me because some
Mm-hmm.
of those yeses meant that I was working with companies that I didn't always believe truly that they could execute what they were asking for my advice on, or that they were ready for the change that they desired. And over the past year, a big change for myself has actually been going back to my core of as I've been creating momentum with technology and AI and other things, actually letting go of some of the other people that I was working with inside Wolfmeyer and coming back to making it just about me and what I truly want to say yes to, but also what I want to say no to.
Mm-hmm.
And that culminated for me really strongly at the beginning of the year when I went on my nonprofit board retreat to a nonprofit WOOF that I've been with for over 10 years on the board, and feeling so inspired by all of the work that we were talking around mission alignment, and realizing that I just wanted to be focused this year. 2026 was the year of me saying yes to only things that were aligned with my purpose, um, and saying no to things that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as an example of that, just like about 10 days ago, I said no to a consulting project that would have been like at least $50,000, could have been $100,000 with some amount of success fees and things like that, because it didn't feel like it supported the whole. And as I've been building my consulting business, I've realized that really what I'm doing is curating kind of a portfolio of aligned companies that by me working with them, I'm better, but like it supports everyone by me
Mm-hmm.
getting to be a part of all these different parts of the supply chain. And I could have said yes to this company that needed my help to do something, but it was completely outside of everything else that I was working on. It was going to be a total distraction. And I don't think that it was going to support the whole. So I said no, and I referred it to somebody else that could help. And I've been kind of shocked for the past 10 days. I said no to that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Am I an idiot? Am I supposed to say no every time someone offers me $50,000?" And, I don't know. I feel good about it though, actually. It takes me back to the moments at the gym when my son watches me being strong. It's like
Yeah.
those are moments where I'm sticking up for myself of like, I said that I was gonna be focused on being aligned with my work. I said that I was going to focus on figuring out ways that my entire portfolio of clients were all going to work together in a way that was not only non-competitive but complementary. And like, do I really mean what I say?
Yeah.
And so we have to stick up for ourselves first. And so these are those moments. And I also believe that by saying no to things, it means that I'm making space to be able to say yes to other things.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm proud of you. I think, I there's a real tax to saying yes to the wrong things, and it can show up in so many ways, right? Like if you think about, if you were to go down this journey with the wrong client or customer, like that misalignment can only get bigger in the future. And like, what does that do for your reputation? Like what people look at when they see your portfolio of companies that you're working with or have worked with. And I think about it a lot from the Vertosa perspective, because I am the type of person who gets insanely excited and thinks about all the things and eternal optimist. And I've said yes to a lot of things over the years, and to my team, anyone who's been with the team. Um, I'm sorry. I just like, I know how much it has strained operations and everything at times, because I've said yes to so much. And I'm really grateful for the various cycles that we've been through, and the team members that have supported me in thinking and realizing like how important it is to define your boundaries and say no to people, even people that you want to say yes to. If it's not aligned and if your whole team can't support it, like nothing is a bigger tax than like breaking the trust of your team. And yeah, I mean, I've this is kind of visceral, because I've been literally went through this in the last week, where I was struggling with um, how to deal with a certain situation. But at the end of the day, it's like we've had to create boundaries for the sake of creating an efficient um, efficient operations internal to the company.
Well, I think that there's like a level of fear-based opportunism that comes when we just say yes to everything. And
Hmm.
that plays into, it could be playing out in Vertosa of like saying yes to projects that don't fit, or to revenue that isn't necessarily good revenue, or that maybe sometimes, like in an effort to close a customer, that you have to give such a deep discount that you might never be able to get out from under it. People make those decisions all the time of like, should we say yes to this in order to box out a competitor? Or should we say no because this is an unprofitable move for us? And
Hmm.
sometimes it makes sense to say yes in that situation, and other times it doesn't. And so, like, are we looking at this from a place of strategic focus, alignment, and true opportunity, or is it coming from a place of fear and scarcity? Um, and if it's coming from a place of fear and scarcity, I know for myself that that feels sometimes like so big that
Mm.
it's hard enough to overcome, that sometimes that fear just kind of wins the day. And those moments when the fear doesn't win the day, I think are worth stepping back and naming, seeing, and then realizing that like, okay, we didn't just let fear win. And what does that mean that we get to do instead?
Mm.
Because if you didn't choose the fear-based opportunism, what is then the opportunity that gets to like flow into the space? How do we create that creative flow in business? Because that's like the good shit right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I I want to take a quick tangent on this, because we were talking about AI before we hopped on, and one of the sessions, Mark Andreessen was recently on Joe Rogan, and they were just diving deep. It's like 3 hour discussion. Um, but like one of the things I was thinking about was creating this advisory panel of like different voices, and helping it evaluate different ideas from different perspectives, and just poke holes and things. And um, you can almost do that similar to how you would lean on a board or your executive team, but for that kind of like rapid iteration of thought of like, is this a good idea? And it's like you can have people steel man, not for or against it, or just have them do both, like steel man both sides of the decision from multiple perspectives, and then you can distill that all down for yourself. So um yeah, I don't know, just I get super excited about like kind of the technology side, to allow me to kind of like work through these moments, and like just kind of continue on and do the more human stuff. But like, you know,
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's on point, because what we're talking about in some ways is reinvention and focus and how we get there.
mhm,
And a huge shift during this time that we're talking about this roller coaster of cannabis policy and changes in our businesses has also been this introduction in AI into our lives, into our business. And
mm,
how has that changed this process of reinvention and adjusting to all of the changing dynamics in the market. And for me, it's been huge. It was like
Mhm.
deciding to jump in and start to learn how to be using AI has been this unlock that has accelerated parts of what I do and has made it possible for me to reinvent myself in the way that I just said, of like going back to my core and focusing, because I haven't needed as many people to help me. And that's the
Yeah.
truth, is that
Yeah.
like things that I used to need to take a month to do and have input from 4 other people to share ideas as a brain trust. I don't need that brain trust anymore. I can have that brain trust um with my board of advisors on AI. That's a combination of like Mark Cuban, Ben Larson, and Chelsea Handler. Who I'm talking through my ideas with. So
Yeah, and you can encourage it to not be so complimentary all the time, and have it be a little bit more critical of your ideas, which I think is important. And I know something that you always have a critical lens to. Um, something I always appreciate about you being one of my personal advisors is that, like, I don't know, I use this we use this term all the time. It's like, you're an adult. I love having an adult to talk to, and no offense to all the other adults I know in this industry, but, AnnaRae is a real one, and, um, I wanna kinda unpack that a little bit because as a CEO, and I know I'm not the only one, and again, we don't mean this in, like, in a demeaning way to anyone we work with, but it's like, there's so many times where it's like, I need another adult in the room. And I know, as someone who consults, successfully, that's what executives are looking for when they're hiring on, outside help. And I wonder if you can help me unpack that a little bit, because I want to then turn that into advice for, you know, aspiring executives and what have you. Like, what does it mean to be an adult in the business world?
I when people tell me this, I can't figure out if it's a compliment or if it's or an insult, and I take it to heart. I will say, like, I have always identified as a bit of a kid my whole life, and even as an adult, like kid with a Z, like I'm one of the kids, and
Maybe that's maybe that's it. Maybe that's the key. It's like understanding that we're all children, right? But and therefore not taking ourselves too seriously. But is there more? Yeah.
I think there is. I mean, I think that when you're talking about what is it about people who work with me, because it's something that comes up a lot. They say that I'm the adult in the room and that's why they want me there. And I'm like, what does that even mean? But I think a lot of it has to do with consistency, to be totally honest, is that I show up in a way that people can depend on. Even
Mm,
if it's just that I'm being highly truthful and authentic to myself, but I'm pretty reliable, and I say when I say something and I say that I'm gonna do something, I generally do it, and I also try to be extremely well informed, so that I am not speaking from a place of ignorance, but speaking from a place of depth, in terms of understanding all the dynamics that are going on broadly, um, and I've also made a lot of mistakes along the way. And that probably is a part of what makes you a grown-up, is that you've stepped in your own shit enough times to know what it smells like before you do it again. Um, and I've certainly done that, and I'm proud of those mistakes, and oftentimes those mistakes are the things that have held me. But I think
mm,
that, like, being an adult, it's not about being professional, or some sort of, like, performative professionalism. I think it really is about consistency. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Does that land? Is that why I'm an adult?
Totally. Well, so it's funny because, like, reliability, it's like such an easy word. It's such a simple concept, but you're right. Like, it's, I think, something that we all crave in this space. It's like the first advice I got. I've told this story probably many times, but like the first advice I got when I joined the cannabis industry back in 2015 was like, it's very hard to trust people in the space. And again, I'm not like portraying everyone in the space as untrustworthy, but his advice to me was like, know someone for 6 months before you even consider them a friend, let alone do business with them. And then that's a very high bar to reach when you're trying to do startups in rapid growth and all this kind of stuff. It's like, one does not align with the other. And then also it's like it just carries over into the products, right? It's like our space is constantly striving, or hopefully striving, to create reliable products, reliable experiences, things that are consistent. And it's like, yeah, it's something that, and I don't think it's unique to cannabis, but I think it's just something that we crave, especially as business leaders, because it allows us to, what we call on the team is like no look passes, right? If someone's reliable and consistent, you can just toss a ball without looking and that it's going to get caught. And that allows you to move faster and execute better. Um, the other aspect that you brought up is just honesty and transparency, and maybe this is unique to your position from a consulting lens, right? Because what do you have to lose? Like you're just reading it as you see it, versus teams where there's other dynamics. There's personal journeys, there's personal careers at play, and egos, and maybe it's a little bit harder for us to be honest within a team setting, because there's always a bit of posturing and whatnot. And when I think about it, it's like when you can get to that true honesty, someone that is willing to admit that they stepped in shit, as you say, it's like those are the real moments. That's when the teams really start to gel, when it's like the barriers are dropped, vulnerability, to use like a overused term, like has been established, and like that's when you feel like you're a group of adults, when you can just all there for like meeting for a common cause, all knowing that you're trying to get to like an ultimate destination, and like we all recognizing everyone has their flaws, including yourself, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, we all are so flawed. That's actually what makes us unique and not AI. So if there's anything to carry into this next chapter, is that our unique flaws can be our superpowers also. Um, but I hear what you're saying. I think that there is this element too about experience that is really powerful. And I think that you
Mm.
have it as well. So many of us who have been in the working world, be it cannabis or otherwise, for 10 plus years professionally, um, you just start to know when something smells fishy. And like I do a lot of commercial strategy. And so that means that I've seen a lot of different companies' distribution agreements, as an example. And so I know what a bunch of them look like. And that experience gives me the ability to, when I see a brand new distribution agreement, to just have that, like, how much is this normal?
Mm.
Is this normal, or is this outside of reality? Either this is like too good to be true, or this is way too costly, whatever it is. It's like I've got this internal record that is this this ability to create, to have a judgment based on what I'm seeing, that if I had never seen that agreement, an agreement like that before, that I wouldn't have had. So, I mean, getting older can be cool,
Right.
we to stack up a little bit more knowledge that maybe you don't have. People love to say that there was like no case study for this, that we were all like
Mm.
building the plane as it was flying. And hopefully we can stop saying that, because the reality is that, like, we've been at this a while now. Like, there's 40 states with cannabis programs. And yes, we've been building the plane, but there's also a lot that we kind of know already about what's come before. And so if we can keep using the knowledge that we've learned, be it in policy, in business, in product development, like all in innovation, all of those things, like we can get better, and there's shortcuts to skip over the shit that we already have proven doesn't work.
Yes, and I think the only thing I've learned is we don't know what the future holds as far as like the space goes, and that the only thing that we rely on is reliability and honesty. And now I'm feeling a theme developing here. But when I think about, what keeps us healthy from a like a a governance perspective, within our company is just ultimate honesty, transparency, and understanding the various levers in our business, the numbers, reporting those transparently to our stakeholders, our board, having open conversations with them, showing true hesitance when they ask for, I mean, not even 3-year projections, just like next year projections. Like, you do know, like, this could all just go out the window with like a single stroke of a pen, especially this year, right? There's so much at stake. Like, Schedule 3, we didn't see that happening the way it was going to happen. We still won't know until mid-July what's happening with adult use as it relates to Schedule 3, how it all relates to the hemp program and CMS and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, all I know is I don't know exactly what the future looks like, but I know that if we just operate with good business fundamentals, honesty, reliability, that that keeps at least our stakeholders happy. Of course.
Well, so you have a very engaged board, and
Mm,
it's been really cool as I've gotten to know you and Vertosa more to hear how much you turn to your board to talk with them about different things that are going on, and um, and it sounds like the folks on your board have various levels of engagement before Vertosa, inside and outside kind of the industries that you're touching, like beverage and
mhm.
cannabis, things like that. Um, but but how would you say that it has evolved as you've gone through this shift from, like, growth towards now needing to recalibrate, of getting to this place that you just said of, yes, it's inevitable, but you're not really sure when or how.
Mhm.
Um, in terms of that evolving relationship with the board, has things changed?
Uh, yes and no. So 2 things. One, going back to what you were saying, like, earlier in the first segment, talking about, um, choosing the right capital partners or choosing the right business or making the right decisions, saying no to the right things. That is incredibly important when it comes to establishing your board, choosing investors. Like, you need to realize that when you're bringing on investors and board members, like, these are the people that you have to work with, that you get to work with, right? And if you choose right, you'll have employees that are not on the payroll. Like, that's how I've thought about it, right? It's like you choose the right investors, they work for you now. Sorry, guys. But yeah, it's like, so it's been truly a joy. It's like that's been the agreement since day one. And also, it's like you're bought into this mission, and we are hell bent on achieving our vision. And so, whether that takes 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, like, this is what we've all signed up for. Okay, that being the established foundation, the first time we hit a true cycle, I would say this was probably back in 2020. Yeah, go figure, the pandemic. Um, it was just a true, honest, like, sit down and be like, this is what's happening. Are we all aligned on what needs to happen? And then as the operator, my job is to go execute. And so that is the relationship that I've created with my board, is like, we collectively decide what is right, and I can be rather influential in that conversation if I'm doing my job as a CEO. And then I execute. And then that proves reliability, right? So that the next time it happens, there's trust inherently in the direction that is being gone. And like, if you're unreliable, if you don't execute, if you don't take swift action, then that reliability is not going to be there, and you're not going to have the trust of your board. It's not going to be easy. And so, where we're at today now with like board dynamics or investor dynamics is like, there's seasons to people's helpfulness, right? Because like you said, AnnaRae, like, there are people with backgrounds in cannabis, people with backgrounds in CPG, ingredients, alcohol, CPG. Did I say that? Probably. Um, Either way, it's like, depending on the season or the need, like, we get to draw on their expertise at different times, and sometimes people take a backseat on the bus, and that's totally cool. But their counsel is always very much appreciated because this has been a journey. There's no like, we don't have any like new faces like really in the room at this point
Hmm. Yeah.
yet.
And And when you talk about that trust, like, it's part of it is that your board has watched you make hard decisions,
Mhm.
even in the face of this year. I know that you guys had to do a small reduction in force,
Mhm.
or maybe you didn't have to, you chose to. I don't know. You can say put your own words on it.
Yeah.
But these were hard decisions that you made. The board didn't force you to make. You chose to do it, and it reinforces that trust, that kind of adultingness that you're bringing to the table in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, just for clarity around that, it's like I mentioned at the beginning of the show that there's just been a phenomenal amount of changes, and there's constant recalibration to the foundation of the business and where our focus needs to lie. Um, we see this in extreme fashion, like in tech companies as they shift their resources to AI. They're still hiring like crazy, but they're shifting momentum from one side of the business to the other. And so that was a similar shift that we faced. I mentioned with hemp, there's just not a lot of outbounding going on for us right now into hemp beverage. And so it's like, all right, we need to maintain our relationships and our customers there, but we want to grow other parts of our business. How do we do that? What operational systems need to grow in order to support that? And that's what the focus is right now for our business. So, um, you know, all that told, we're very lucky, very fortunate to have a stable business and create the optionality that um, can roll with the punches with this industry, because we truly believe in the inevitability not only of the beverage category, but of cannabis as a whole. Like our whole team is 100% dedicated to making sure that we're creating access and ubiquity of the plant, right? Like, and there's a lot of things that we can do to achieve that, and we just have to make sure we're running a good, profitable business to do so. And so, yeah, I lost the
Yeah.
the the
No,
string on
that answers
on
my
the
question.
question.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think that when you talk about running a good business, and I talked a little bit, I shared kind of how I accidentally became a consultant. I think part of that too is that I didn't have a lot of faith at that time when I was starting Wolfmeyer, which was the end of 2021, that there were good cannabis companies out there. And I didn't want to connect my trailer to someone else's truck at that time. I just felt like it was too risky. And I
Mhm.
see now, all these years later, that there are actually good companies that are kind of floating to the top. And it is a different environment because people have sustained and changed and adjusted. And it's actually been a real pleasure to start to have more confidence that I can get to a place of curating the work that I do to get to work with good companies, because there's enough
Mhm.
out there that I believe are gonna have a long tail. And you talk about your team believing in the industry, I share that. Like, there's just all these good examples time and time again. Are
Yeah.
there other examples that we see that's like, "Wow, how is that guy failing forward again? How is that founder that, like, sent his last company into receivership getting money to go do something else? Like, what is going on?"
Mhm.
But like, for all of those, there's 2 others that are also winning and deserve to be winning. So,
Well, there's just a lot that has happened. 2021, I didn't realize, like, congratulations on that alone. That's
yeah,
a decent chunk of time.
it's
Um,
kinda crazy. Yeah.
but the industry has matured a lot over the last 5 years. That's 5
Mhm.
years for us as an industry to have learned what works, what doesn't, what does it take to sustain, and has attracted a lot of talent. And we see this in different ways. We see it as new markets come online, and they go through those learning cycles much faster. It's like, "Oh, that didn't work in that state. Let" Not always, but, sometimes. It's like, "Let's create the sophisticated business off the bat because we know it works," versus, just doing things the old way, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so yeah, things have changed a lot, and
they
I,
really have.
you know,
Well, so, it was almost 3 years ago, I think, also, that we started doing this podcast,
oh my,
which is crazy.
yeah,
I think this is episode 139,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
it was like June or July, that we first did this. So it's not a full 3 years, but, um, did we accidentally become media people? Like, what are we doing here?
God, I hope not. I'd be a lot better at this if we did. um, it's been a real gift. I mean, obviously, like we've always had great conversations, but being able to use it as a platform to explore our curiosities in the space. Um, we haven't done it to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really think of it as marketing, but it has created space where, at least in the very least, in times where I'm not traveling as much, I still feel connected to the space and I'm able to like reach out to people that I'm curious about. But more than anything, and I think you'll agree with this, is it's been a little bit of a hack to learn how other people are running their businesses and how to run my business better. So thank you everyone for giving me all the tips to run a better business. But I don't know. I also love. I haven't attributed to this because like I've been growing in the space alongside it, but it makes the space feel that much smaller, right? Like I feel very connected to the space. I've always felt a sense of ownership over the industry. And I think it only validates that further, where it's just a true ownership of all the relationships and all the people operating the space and trying to get it done and move it forward. Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I resonate with a lot of what you're saying, and I will say that I will say that I am kind of a media person now. I'm trying to accept that. I'm
You
starting
are
to
better
realize.
at it than me. You're just
Well,
you're
so
less
what I
distractible, that's for sure.
well, yes, that's true. But I think that it's more about what I have realized is that there is a hunger for information and real, authentic, deep conversation. And I've realized that because of the feedback that we've gotten from people that have benefited from our conversations. And that's made me want to put out more conversations
Mm,
and to make sure that cannabis news and market dynamics are available to people who want to learn about them. Because we've seen also over the course of our time in the industry, a lot of different media platforms come and go. And um, I don't have kind of the bandwidth to truly dedicate my whole day to being a journalist. But
mhm,
I realized that through all of these tools that are available to us in our modern day, that we can drop in and be a part of the conversation and add something to it, and that gives us this sort of public intellectual role within the space that has been really fun, but also has given us access to all these people that we want to have conversations with. So as much as I didn't set out to become a media person, do I hate the idea that I make media now? No, I don't. I'm actually kind of
mhm.
into it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Well, I do like how it's been a forcing mechanism for me because as like an early stage founder, you do a lot of doing, right? It's just like you know what you need to do to create and it creates your path for you. And as long as you're executing at a good clip in the right direction, you're doing the right thing. But at a certain point, you transition from founder to CEO. And that requires a different lens, right? Hopefully you're bringing on the right people and you're cultivating them to do the right things. And to have that bigger lens of the space and to look at all the different moving pieces. I have appreciated the weekly drop in to see what's happening in the news. Think about how it's affecting businesses and like what are the important conversations that people want to hear about. These are the things that again I'm reflecting back into my own business as I run it. So it's like a big experiment, a very serious experiment, of course. But uh, um,
Very serious.
yeah. Also, I mean, I will say there's a certain amount of joy that comes to me, like when someone tells me that they've been listening to the shows or they're able to point to a certain episode that resonated with them and I still have the exact same reaction after 139 episodes. I'm like, wow, people actually listen to this?
Really?
Really?
We've actually had some great conversations, and I think that you've said that it makes you a better leader to get to talk to all these other leaders, and I totally feel the same way. Like, folks have dropped some real gems in conversations with us that then I have been able to think about later and be like, wow, that's a really smart perspective. And I wouldn't have gotten that perspective if we weren't here being media people once a week trying to have these conversations and also pushing ourselves constantly to be like, well, what's actually interesting at the moment? What do
Mhm.
people care about? So, yeah, it's been a journey and you're right, like we haven't made money doing this. We had one sponsor one time for like a couple months. We tried it out because we wanted to see what would it would be like and if it would deliver us value or the sponsor, and I'm not sure that it did either, to be honest. Um, but that doesn't mean that the continued evolution of high spirits, is over. I think that there's more for us to keep doing with this platform, and we wanna be doing more of these one-on-one episodes where we can go deep with our audience, and sometimes it's honestly, it's just more work for us to make time to do it this way, because we have to think more about what we wanna bring to the table as opposed to just getting to ask all the questions, so we'll keep doing it.
Well, the one thing I will say that won't evolve, that I very much appreciate about it is that we named this high spirits because we both are naturally positive people, and we still feel that that's what this industry needs. It needs to that kind of persistent positivity, that sense of inevitability. And while it's a lot of work and there's a lot of twists and turns, it's not always like awesome sauce, but like that there's always a silver lining, and there's always the fact that we've chosen to be here and we get to work in this amazing industry with an amazing purpose. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be doing it alongside you. So happy to keep everyone's spirits high as we do it.
I'm totally with you, and I am optimistic. I really am. Like, and sometimes I wonder if I'm crazy for it, but I also believe in it. And I have moments of kind of feeling in the doldrums, like we talked about at the beginning. But it seems like being honest about that is just as important to the commitment to staying high spirits throughout this journey. As we close out the episode and get closer to saying goodbye, I'm wondering if you want to share anything that's given you some hope right now.
Ooh, things that give me hope. Um, Honestly, I'm just incredibly appreciative of building in the space and creating an amazing team and having such an amazing community, be it through the high spirits audience or fans and customers and partners of Vertosa. Like, truly do love this space and the opportunity to build in it and to be growing my family as like in parallel to it. Like, this has been a crazy journey, and some people say it's insane to build it. It's insane to build families around it, but like we're doing that thing, and I'm more confident than I have been in the last 10 years that we are on the right path. And it is inevitable. Like, we will get there. We're not there yet. That's the most important thing. Like, we need to keep fighting until, I mean, deschedule or bust, right? But like, those incremental wins are huge. And this year, I think we have multiple incremental wins. Some might call it a leap forward that we can make, but we need to keep the momentum. And so, seeing everyone engaged around the hemp beverage movement, around hemp in general, seeing our vision of getting our partners in alcohol involved in fighting for it coming true, like these are all great steps forward. And yeah, there's a lot to be told this year and the years ahead. So I'm feeling great right now, despite how I kicked things off saying that I was entering the weekend all like, you know, bleh. Um, not feeling like that right now.
The
Bleh.
the
Yeah. Yeah. What about you? Like, how are you feeling? What are you optimistic about?
I am optimistic about just the clarity that so many of my fellow cannabis industry peers and myself have in this different way than we used to. Like, it feels like we talked about optimism, but it feels like we've become a little more realistic at the same time. And there's this there's this healthy confidence and calm and peace in that, like
Hmm.
believing that things aren't just going to happen because they should, but they're going to happen because we do them well and because we're smart and thoughtful about the way that we get there. Um, this should be the reality is something that I've kind of stopped believing a long time ago and I've let go of. And I've realized that it's actually just about the work. And if we keep
Hmm.
taking steps every single day in our businesses, they say to be if you're 1% better every day, then you're 365% better at the end of the year. And that's a lot better. And being 1% better every day is almost too much to be. So, um, but but I am hopeful and optimistic because I know that I'm better every day, and I know that the industry is better every day also, and that there is this cleansing going on and that there's been a lot of a kind of pain and suffering in the journey, but with that has brought this calm that I feel and this ability to see what's real and what's not, and I like to live in real rather than fantasy land. That's maybe the
Hmm.
adults in me. So yeah.
Yeah, I will say that the older I get, the more I value people who reduce chaos, and
Yeah.
you are one of those people for me. So thank you, and
Thank you
thank you
for
for being an
being
adult
a problem. I don't think
or
I'm
old
getting
or
any younger.
whatever it means. All
Uh,
right.
yes, let's do it.
All right, everybody. Thank you. What do you think? What are you optimistic about? What do you appreciate about this industry, about your companies, about us? Feel free to share that. Thank you to our teams of Vertosa and Wolf Meyer, and of course, our producer, Eric Rossetti. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share, like, review, do all the things. Tell us who you want to have on the show, what you want us to discuss. We're here for you, and we're not stopping anytime soon. Thanks for listening. As always, folks, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, keep your spirits high. Until next time, that's the show.